Welcome to another episode of Becoming with Chief Mrs. Today we're looking at politics, and I'm your host, Chief Mrs. Adenike Olumide-Emmanuel. So, have you watched my last episode? I began talking about the Nigerian Constitution, about the fact that not many of us really know the content of our Constitution. And so all I'm doing here is just to read to you the content of the Nigerian Constitution. And if you have questions, you have comments, please drop in the comment box below. So let us dig in. Today I am going into chapter 6. I began reading the chapters last week with the parts and the subsections. So chapter 6 has to do with the executive. Last week we looked at chapter 5 that had to do with the legislature. So now chapter 6 has to do with the executive. So we have that also in parts. So we have part 1 and part 2 and part 3. So part 1 of chapter 6 talks about the federal executive. Part 1A is all about the president of the federation. Part 1B is all about establishment of certain federal executive bodies. Part 1C is about public revenue. Part 1D is about the public service of the federation. And then part 2 of chapter 6 talks about the state executive. And so part 2A talks about the governor of a state. Part 2B, establishment of certain state executive bodies. Part 2C, the public service of a state. And then part 3 talks about the supplemental. Part 3A talks about national population census. Part 3B, Nigerian Police Force. Part 3C, Armed Forces of the Federation. And then Part 3D, political parties. They are all in chapter 6 of the Nigerian Constitution. And then in chapter 7, we are looking at the judicature. And that also comes in parts. So part 1 of chapter 7 talks about the federal courts. And then part 1A has to do with the Supreme Court of Nigeria, 1B, the Court of Appeal, 1C, the Federal High Court, 1D, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, 1E, the Sharia Court of Appeal of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, 1F, the Customary Court of Appeal of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And then part 2 has to do with state courts. Part 2A talks about High Court of a state. Part 2B, Sharia Court of Appeal of a state. Part 2C, Customary Court of Appeal of a state. And then part 3 has to do with election tribunals. And then part 4 of the Constitution has to do with supplemental. That is part 4 of chapter 7. And then chapter 8 has to do with Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and general supplementary provisions. So we have part 1 that has to do with FCT, part 2 miscellaneous provisions, part 3 transitional provisions and savings, and then part 4 interpretations, citations, and commencements. And then we have schedules. I'm not sure I'm going to be reading that schedule to you. So when we get there, we'll cross that bridge. But we have schedules here. We have first schedule that has to do with part 1, State of the Federation. Part 2, Definition and Area Councils of Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Then second schedule, part 1, Executive, Legislative List, Concurrence. Okay, the concurrence list and the supplement and interpretation. And then you have the third schedule, which is also into parts 1, 2, and 3, Federal, State, and then then Abuja. And then you have the fourth schedule, which talks about the function of a local government council. And then you have the fifth schedule, part 1, Code of Conduct for public officers. Part 2, Public officers for the purposes of the code conduct. And then sixth schedule, Election tribunals. And then the seventh schedule, oaths of office. So at the back of this constitution, you have all the oaths for the president, for the vice president, for the governor, for the deputy. They're all here in the constitution. And now to go into the meat of the matter, to begin to read the constitution proper to you. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. So, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1991. And it says here, we the people, you and me, we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved. Did you firmly and solemnly resolve to be a part of this Constitution? I'll be right back. Just stay there, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still your host on the program, Becoming with Chief Adenike Olumide-Emmanuel, and we're talking politics and we're looking at the Nigerian Constitution. So now we are in the meat of the matter. So I will take that again. We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God, dedicated to the promotion of inter-African solidarity, world peace, international cooperation and understanding, and to provide for a constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of all persons in our country. I'm the one emphasizing those words. It's not emphasized here. I'm just thinking, looking at the way things are in this country, I can't believe that we have this in our constitution and things are as bad as they are in this country. This is the year 2021. I don't know when you'll be listening to this. It might be in 2021. It might be in 2050. Will they still have this constitution by then? I hope not. They should have changed it by that time. But I'm the one making the emphasis because I can't believe that we have this in our constitution and things are as bad as they are right now. I'm going to take that paragraph again. And to provide for a constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of all persons in our country on the principles of freedom, equality, and justice. And for the purpose of consolidating the unity of our people, do hereby make and give to ourselves the following constitution. Did you get that? That we have given this to ourselves. Now, it's not taking me a while, like I said, to go through, but just follow me week by week and listen to the content of this constitution that we have given to ourselves. Chapter 1, that has to do with general provisions. Chapter 1, Part 1, Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I'm going to read to you Section 1 that has subsection 1, 2, 3. Now, Section 1 that has subsection 1, 2, 3 has to do with the supremacy of the Constitution. So, Part 1, Section 1, Section 1, subsection 1 goes, this Constitution is supreme, and its provisions shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No one is above the law. 2. Subsection 2. The Federal Republic of Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or group of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof, except in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. I won't say anything there. But think about what's happening in the north. I'll take that place again. The Federal Republic of Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or group of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof, except in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. I take you to Part 1, Section 1, subsection 3. If any other law is inconsistent with the provisions of this Constitution, this Constitution shall prevail, and that other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. Section 3. If any other law is inconsistent with the provisions of this Constitution, this Constitution shall prevail, and that other law shall to the extent of the inconsistency be void. We go now to section 2 that deals with the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigeria is one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign state to be known by the name of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this constitution states that Nigeria is to be known by a name called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And yet, it seems as if we are practicing a unitary system of government. Then, subsection 2 of number 2 here states that Nigeria shall be a federation consisting of states and a federal capital territory. Are you following me in this reading? Are you putting down notes? Are you taking down notes? Are you getting ready for the referendum? I don't know, that might be coming up when they gather together to talk about how to rework the constitution. Make sure you are a part of that. That is why I am here to read to you what we have in this present constitution. Hopefully in the not too distant future, a new constitution that will cater to the needs of every Nigerian will be created. Till I come your way again, make sure you subscribe to this channel. You do not want to miss any episode. I'm Chief Adenike Olumide-Emmanuel. Keep fulfilling your destiny. Bye-bye.